Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for Brightburn, the Superman Goes Evil film. Now, I want to start off by pointing out the glaringly obvious. I'm moving house. So, what that means for the time being is that review videos and reviews in general might take a bit of a hit. Some reviews may come later, some may not happen at all at the moment. Especially with the likes of Men in Black and a couple of others that have been released recently. I'll get to them eventually. I might just do little tiny videos once they either come out on TV or they come out on DVD or whatever. But I will get to them eventually. But at the moment, everything's kind of... excuse me. Oh God, all the dust. Everything's kind of all up in the air at the moment, so... bear with me and I'll try and get a few reviews out as I get to them. But I saw Brightburn this morning and immediately I thought I have to do a review for it. I can't let this one pass. I have to do one for all of you superhero lovers out there because it is an interesting film in terms of superhero lore. So anyway, we'll get straight to it. So, simple premise, what if Superman went bad? That is the question that Brightburn proposes and explores in this action horror produced by James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy fame, no less. So, while it's strictly not a Superman film, there is no license usage here at all. Warner Brothers are not involved whatsoever. The term Superman never pops up. What Brightburn does is take all the key features of the Superman figure, his arrival as a baby, his quiet country boyhood life, and his discovery of immense powers, and formulates them into this homage story of what happens when it all goes bad. And it does go bad. It goes very bad for the people in the film. So the exploration of a evil Superman has been done before in comics and cartoons, with I think Red Sun being probably one of the best examples of a sort of like a alternate Superman to the Star Spangled Banner kind of ultimate hero. But we've never had anything in this playing field on a major film or anything like that. And to the credit of the film, it knows this. The makers know that, and they do not hold back, especially in the final act. Brightburn starts off relatively quickly. He arrives as a baby from space, and immediately we cut to 10 years later when he is a 12-year-old boy. So there is no need for setup. The film clearly understands that we have seen this before, and it takes us to the key point in the point of the boy's life, his teenage years. From here, everything spirals into darkness and misery as the boy progressively turns more and more darker and explores his powers. And without spoiling anything, his turn to evil seems to be enhanced by some sort of extra presence. Although much of it is never really explored, the film does exceptionally well at limiting expositionary nonsense in favour of simply just going hell for leather with its core creative idea. The idea being a superpowered being who decides to kill rather than save. And he kills a lot, and it's all brutal. Now, if you've ever wondered what someone like Superman would do to a person if he hit them at high speed, then this film paints it clearly in the colours of crimson and clear crystal tears of pure pain for its characters. Again, I'll relent from spoilers, and it's kind of hard to do this review without really giving spoilers, but almost every single death is related to the powers, and the powers that we've known well enough through popular culture. Everything you can possibly imagine, bar a couple of exceptions. What you can imagine Superman doing if he was evil, he does in this film, and it's oftentimes horrific as well. Now, the film takes place primarily within the family's farm, with snippets here and there at a nearby school or neighbourhood residences. In terms of atmosphere, this creates the idea of separation from the rest of the world, something that in itself could be considered a key point of analysis for the boy's eventual derailing. His adoptive parents clearly shield him from the outside, and he is ostracised from his peers. at school due in part to his above average intelligence. And the film is excellently shot to deliver those kind of ideas, but where the film kind of trips up is in the scare sequences. Unfortunately, they revolve around simple jump scares, and here in this film they just don't work. They really, really don't work for the character, nor do they feel right for the film as a whole. And when the film works perfectly is when the brutality of super speed is used, or the use of his heat rays. That's where the horror. It's horror. I say horror. I don't really feel like this film is, a horror film in that sense. It tries to do the jump scares, as I said, but because they don't work, and because you're waiting for the heat rays or the super speed, it almost feels like there's not really that much to be terrified of. It's the acknowledgement of what this force is doing that's the scary part. So it's not really strictly horror in a sense of the jump scares, and that's why when they use them in the film it doesn't work, because it just doesn't meld well at all. And Brightburn also suffers when it delves headfirst into simple, tired, formulaic character moments. The simple character tropes: the mother who refuses to accept the truth, the sheriff who knows what's going on but makes the wrong choices. They all factor into this film. There's very few surprises, if you like, in terms of character development. Even, you don't really get to explore a lot of what happens when he was a baby. The only thing we know is that he never had a cut, or he never got ill, or anything like that. So yeah, it's all established in Superman lore, but there's no real triggers other than the supposed trigger of the film, and it gets a bit convoluted, it gets a bit confusing. And these simple tropes are what make the middle portion of the film feel tired and overlong, and it's strange. The film's only an hour and a half long, but the middle section of the film really does kind of drag just a little bit too much, because we're on the cusp of getting to what we all want to see, and yet it's just holding itself back a little bit too much, and it's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. But this is all despite the fact that the cast is great. The cast is fantastic. Elizabeth Banks and David Denman providing real honest weight to these characters. The Martha and his father, Superman's father. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. Daniel Brazier is going to kill me. But the Kents, they are essentially the Kents, and young Brandon, superpowered Brandon, he is Clark. But it's the way that they sort of like respond to what he's doing, as actors. They're great, they're fantastic, they really, really buy into it, and you can see them fully immersed in what is going on. And young Brandon, played by Jackson A. Dunn, is suitably creepy and increasingly unnerving as his powers grow, and that's where it gets interesting. Initially it's a bit quiet and a bit, it's weird because there's been no trigger for any of it. But then once his powers start to grow and this whole, otherworldly sort of stuff factors into him and changes him, if you like, that's when his unnerving qualities really, really sell itself. It sells the film. Could Brightburn have been darker? That's been a bit of a question that people have posed, and could it have been more intense? The answer is yes. I don't think the level of darkness showed in the previews or the trailers quite matches up to the end product of the film. I think it possibly could have gone one step further and made it completely miserable. I mean, it's a film about a superpowered being who decides to go bad. It goes bad. You've seen things with hope in Superman, etc. This is the complete opposite. It's the complete opposite. He wants to destroy everything. He even said, there's lines in the film, "Take the world." There you go. So why wouldn't you go hell for leather with the altar darkness? People want to see mass chaos, and you get it in individual moments where he's hunting people, hunting characters, but it never fully goes completely dark, and that's a shame, really. It's a shame. And the film is not really as subversive as it would have you believe, but, and this is a big but, it is damn satisfying. It's satisfying in the sense of that simple what if alternative answer to stupid standard superhero affairs. That alternative answer. It does a tremendous amount with such a simple premise, and yet it doesn't quite do as much as you would like it to. The violence and the production overall is great, it's great, but it narrowly misses being great due to the unfortunate standard tropes that it falls into. And that's a shame. That's a shame. The real potential was there for a really, really great, different kind of superhero film, a horror film. And yeah, as fun as it is, it never reaches the heights that you hope it would. But Brightburn is indeed a fun horror actioner, and one that should appeal to a wider superhero audience. Its true strength lies within those moments of homage and the brutal devastation that is left behind when he commits these atrocities. My hope, going forward, is that Brightburn is left as a standalone, as a one piece. But there are interesting snippets provided by news captions in the final credits that hint of other beings, a la the Justice League, but that in my eyes is where it should end, and I hope it does, because there are other films that have been out, last couple of years. A Quiet Place, for example, it's getting a sequel. Do they really need it? Do these, brilliant single films really need sequels? That's a debate for another day, boys and girls. But there you have it. That's my review. Quite simple. I would encourage you to go and watch it for yourself and make your own opinions, because there are a lot of spoilers in it, and the spoilers actually make up the good portions of discussion for the film. A review for this kind of film it's kind of pointless, and if it sounded like I was rambling, then that's probably because I was trying to skirt around all these key moments. But the simple thing is, with what I've said, the film is good, but there are still parts that are really, 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 really frustrating, annoyingly frustrating as well. But I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10 because I really, really did like the whole Superman lore going bad. So there we have it. As I said before, what's coming in the future? Well, obviously I will try and get a review out for the new Spider-Man film that's coming. It's kind of hard to avoid reviews for that. They seem to be all coming out positive. So we will see what happens there. And hopefully once I've moved in, things settle down a bit more, then we'll start ploughing out some other reviews. I've still got to build this Iron Man Hall of Armour. Can't wait to build that. I'm going to make a mess of that, surely. I've got a feeling I'm going to have to rebuild the Lego Millennium Falcon that I packed up the other day. I think a piece of it snapped off, so who knows, you might get a really frustrated, angry rebuilding of the Lego Millennium Falcon. If that's what you want to see, you'll get it, I'm sure. But it's interesting. I'm going to say it's interesting right now. There haven't been any real films that have completely angered me. And the name of this channel is Angry Andy. So I want you to give me a recommendation. What is a really terrible film? While we seem to be skirting around, we seem to be hovering around the 4s and then, the 7s at the minute with these current summer films. What is a really terrible film that you want me to review? Leave a comment in the comment section below, and I might get round to it once I move in and once I settle down. Anyway, if you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. That's it for all. That's it for the moment. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye!